My people, what is going on? Welcome to the Temple of Geek podcast. My name is Kari, and I will be your host as we share our thoughts on the first episode of Dune Prophecy Season 1. If you haven't watched the show, please save this episode for later and come back because there are going to be spoilers. If this is your first time tuning into the Temple of Geek podcast, welcome. The Temple of Geek podcast has been around since 2010 and is hosted by various geeks from the Temple of Geek team. Here we cover all manner of geek and pop culture news and events. To our returning listeners, thank you again for tuning in. We really appreciate you being here. And today with me, I have my awesome returning friends and people. We have the amazing Lady Dragon JJ and my awesome colleague from Temple of Geek, Natacia. What's going on, my people?
Hey. I'm so excited to be here.
Dune Nation, we're back. We are back,
We're
baby.
back, baby.
We are here.
Silence. I'm just kidding. Had to be done.
Listen,
We gotta work on the voice.
Listen, I don't mind. I will do as you say. I'll let you do that to me. No problem. We're back. Okay, we're unhinged. You already know.
I love it. It's the Rings of Power energy seeping into our Dune era.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
You
women empowerment. Let's go.
join the sisterhood.
Yes.
Yes.
I should have got my ring, our sisterhood ring.
Oh man.
Yes.
Yeah, I should have brought my ring out. Oh man, you're
That
right.
is so awesome.
Man. Yeah, that was a cool experience. So, real quick, JJ, just introduce yourself and where people can find you on the socials and all that stuff.
Hello, good people. My name is Lady Dragon JJ. You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, and now Blue Sky under the same handle. I talk about everything pop culture, TV shows, movies, anything interesting. Sometimes I sprinkle in some politics. But yeah, I'm so happy to be back in the Dune Universe. It's one of my favorite franchises and one of my favorite stories. So I'm so happy to be here and with my friends and with my people. So I can't wait.
Nat, what about you? Go ahead, a little bit about yourself and where you can find you.
I'm also in that Blue Sky universe and also Threads, IG, I think are like the big three. And all of those you can find me under the same handle, NKNAPPER. I'm also on TikTok. We're NATKNAPP. And yeah, I'm just really excited to be talking about like all of this too. I don't think I am quite as much of a diehard Dune person as JJ, but I mean, the second movie really turned me into a believer, and it had me go back and like reading those books, and I never thought I would do that. So yeah, I'm really interested to really dig in with you guys.
Awesome. All right, so we could go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is, what were your initial thoughts? JJ, we could start off with you.
So it's a strong start. I think the show has a lot of great potential. I'm gonna say, if you are gonna watch Dune Prophecy, the Dune movies are a must. As a prerequisite. At this point, you can't just step into this. You will be bombarded by what I thought was a bit of an alphabet soup of ton of lore, ton of characters, ton of planets, and you are like overwhelmed with it within that first hour, this first episode. It does a really good job of introducing concepts, characters, ideas, what's going on. It's really trying hard, not I would say trying hard, but it really wants to connect to the Dune films. That way, you as the viewer that are not maybe familiar with the books are connected in this universe. So I think it does a really good job in bridging and introducing that aspect of the world. Because again, we are set 10,000 years prior to the birth of Paul Atreides. So this is like way, way, way in the past. And I think it does a really good job in connecting where we are with the Dune films and now with the Dune Prophecy and how we get to the Kwisatz Haderach. So it was a strong start. I would have liked it to be a little bit more, slow it down a little bit, like take time with the characters, with its ideas, but like it's introducing way too many things at the same time. But I thought Emily Watson was quite charming, like not the word I'm looking for, but quite strong presence as the Reverend Mother, as the Mother Superior. So yeah, she's been sort of a highlight of the episode for me, and I think she's going to continue to be a highlight as sort of this leader of of the leader of Bene Gesserit. So, but yeah, I'm interested. I'm invested, and I have a feeling that it's gonna get better from this episode. I think it's an introductory episode. It's like a prologue of Bene Gesserit, felt to me. So
Yeah, I think I feel really similarly. Yeah, I can't imagine watching this show if I had no context at all, like ahead of it. Like, I don't know how I would engage with the show at all. Which, I think like they're like there's good things and bad things about that, right? Like, but I think that if you really enjoyed the Dune movies in particular, like, I think that you're going to have a really good time with like what the show appears to be doing so far. I also kind of agree that the pacing is a little, we'll see. It was a little fast. I agree that like I wish that we had spent a little bit more time with some of the other characters. And I have a lot of questions, but it's episode 1, it's laying in the groundwork. So I am coming in like really engaged with what we've seen so far. And I'm enjoying what we're seeing so far. I think that honestly, all the characters that we have been allowed to see so far have actually like piqued my interest in different ways, which we'll get into. But yeah, I think it's like a strong first episode. I just hope that as we move forward, it gives a little bit more like space to breathe, because like I think like some of these shorter season shows kind of suffer from that a little.
this one has 6, so it's like they're trying to cram in a lot of lore.
Yeah.
It really wants you to be like, this is for you, for Dune fans. Here is Arrakis, here are the sandworms, here is a Fremen person, here is Seleucus Secundus, here is Corinos, Bene Gesserit. It's like all of these things that you know. Everything is here for you. Everything that you know. It's like a PowerPoint of things that you are familiar with. So that's like sort of kind of like how it felt to me.
Yeah, agree. Yeah. But yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking it so far.
No. I agree with both of you. The same thing. I think it was a strong start because it's just the way that all these characters are like got introduced, that you could, like you said, Emily Watson, like her presence just felt very like immediately, but all these other characters as well, they feel interesting. They have a story that I want to get to know. But I do agree with the pacing. It was just a lot at the same time. Like my first watch was just little self thing real quick. I was able to go to the red carpet premiere in New York, and
So excited.
talk about that later. But I was able to
Our
watch it
famous
there.
from Kari.
Oh my God, please. The only thing that I'm gonna say is I saw Travis Fimmel right there next to me. So that was like my highlight of the whole
God.
speaking night. All right. He was right there. I was like, oh my God. I'm a professional. Stop it, Kari.
Ragnar Lothbrok.
Yes.
Near me.
And he was looking like it too, with his long hair and his old, like his beard. And I'm like, why you gotta look so rugged right now for 10 minutes?
You know what? He must have loved the script, because if you're gonna drag that man away from his beer farm, must be good.
Oh yeah, definitely. You already know that character. We'll get into why his character and why it's so perfect for him. But anyway, let me go back. But I had I watched it watching it in a movie theater, like it's a big screen. That's especially with the cinema, like the cinematography is amazing. But I was like, okay, wait, what is this? What's going on? Especially with somebody, I mean, I've watched the movies, but I haven't read the books. So I had to come home and, I got also a screener, and I had to rewatch it and like start Googling stuff, and write down stuff and like kind of rewind to like, all right, this is what this is what the planet is. It is a lot of information being thrown at you. And if you're not like really into Dune and really read the books and stuff like that, then it's going to be a lot of information that you're going to be very like kind of lost. So like what JJ said, I think if you haven't watched movies, I think it's best if you do, before you start watching the show. But definitely the story is already interesting, just the way that everything started, especially with the sisters, and how they're getting their whole plan, you know, to roll out with the whole, doing DNA manipulation and all that stuff. So it's super interesting. So I'm very excited for that for sure. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. We see that we get a little bit of exposition,
A little bit?
with
I'm just kidding.
well, we do. It's a lot, but
I'm kidding, I'm
like
kidding.
no, definitely get exposition, which is good because what the heck is like the Balerian Jihad, and how did what's the sister? Obviously, we got to know how the sisterhood started, right, and who started it. And we get all that information. What did you guys think about that beginning? With them retelling that story really quick, so we could get that information out of the way.
One of my favorite, like the opening quote, I wrote it down and it's so good. Like that's how I knew like this show might be cooking something very special. Like victory is celebrated in the night, in the light, but it's won in the darkness. Like I was like that took me out in a good way, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're doing something really good here. And we open up like immediately with Butlerian Jihad, which is War of the Machine, essentially human beings overcoming the machine that's been exterminating them and everything that came after. It's like one of the major catalysts in the entire universe that reverberates like for millennia to come, like the death of machine and death of the thinking machine, to be more specific. And I was telling Kari earlier, like kind of off record, like I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity not to lean into Butlerian Jihad, the War of the Machine, more. Like start with that and really explore that, especially with what's going on in the real world with artificial intelligence and AI becoming so like a problem within like creative spaces and like in the media that we consume. So it would have been, I think, a really good opportunity to kind of introduce Butlerian Jihad on its own thing, like because it does have elements of like Terminator and Transformers. Like it would have been, I think it would have looked cool on screen, but also like send a message of like the human computer and how we are becoming increasingly too reliant on the thinking machine, on our phones, on our computers. There's like a theme to be set there. So we only get brief shots of it in the beginning of this episode, which kind of sets up obviously Valia Harkonnen's motivation, the betrayal, betrayed. I mean, her family being supposed betrayers during the War of the Machines. So, but yeah, like I kind of wish they lean. That's just a little rant on the side. Like when I think of like the Dune Universe, I think it would have been a cool thing to explore the War of the Machines before getting into the Bene Gesserit, how they were formed post Butlerian Jihad, the Souk schools, the Mentats, the spatial space guild travelers and all of that. So, but yeah, like really really interesting start. The young Valia is very cool. I was hoping to have more time with her. I thought that flashback like was real quick, and I thought that they're gonna take a lot more from the book that it was based on, the Sisterhood of Dune, I think is that what it's called. But no, they changed quite a bit. Like where's Rostak planet? Like the flashback should have been on that jungle planet, but obviously they moved everything to Wallach 9. So, which I'm fine with that. So it's obviously the show is saying, yeah, we took inspiration from this novel, but we're doing our own thing and we're going to connect it to Dune as we know, the Denis Villeneuve Dune. So
First of all, I feel like you are like the Dune expert here in this conversation.
Exactly.
So I really love listening to you talk about this world. Yeah, no, I think for me, like the beginning felt when I'm talking about like wishing that the show had a little bit more spaciousness, this is what I'm kind of getting at, right? Like, because I think that context is really important because like I think that that's also going to help like as we are continuing to explore the Dune universe and we're seeing more of these movies, this context actually is going to become increasingly important like as the story like goes on. So like I wish that we had a little bit more time because there really isn't much grounding like in the War of the Machines at all in the movies. So like we don't really like get that context at all. So like I agree. Like, I wish there was like, I kind of wish that this whole episode was able to be really like focused on this and like really giving a lot of this background. And then maybe in like the second episode, like we're kind of getting into like the Bene Gesserit, right? Like piece of it and connecting those two things, but at least having like one full episode of all of that like history and context to breathe. And yeah, I also agree, like all of the young versions, honestly, of like these actors, like I would have liked more time with all of them, really. And yeah, I'm curious if there is going to be a little bit more of that like history woven into the story, into the show as we're moving forward. I'm kind of doubting it, kind of knowing like where we're going. Yeah, I know. But yeah, I completely agree with you, JJ. That feels like a missed opportunity in a lot of ways.
Especially with AI, like right now, like that's a real life problem. They really could have at least an episode, like you said, that's actually perfect, even better than like dedicate a whole series to it. An episode dedicated just to that war to kind of build ground for Avalia's motivation, which huge part of it happens during that War of the Machines. So, and how birth of all these factions came in. And one thing to kind of help grounding, that's actually a good word. Bene Gesserit seeks to essentially, we know this from the film, to create this supreme being, this Kwisatz Haderach that's going to be a combination that can exist in everywhere all at once at the same time and see through the future in long spans of time and see it clearly. That is a supreme being that's going to have control over what Bene Gesserit sees us as animals, essentially. That's the whole point of Gum Jabbar. It's to test your animal instinct. Are you going to behave like an animal, or are you going to overcome that fear, the litany of fear? So to them, like, we are nothing but pawns and animals. So for them to breed Kwisatz Haderach is to breed the supreme being that's going to rule over us. Essentially, what I'm getting at, it's the juxtaposition. It's like the opposite of the machine ruling the human. They're breeding the human, the supreme human. It's still, it goes again, it's control, whether by a robot or by another supreme being that they breed through the eugenics program. I call it eugenics program, but it's a breeding program. It's a genetics like selection of like all of these noble houses picking up their best traits. I think eugenics is a good word to describe here. That spans like, think of it, 10,000 years till we get to Paul. And even like he was created by an error and he ended up being what they were looking for, essentially. So like dedicating that one episode to show the machine literally wiping out humanity and ruling over us because we have become so accustomed to the computers doing our thinking for us. It would have been a perfect like a setup to put it up against Bene Gesserit's goals, which isn't like, oh, to make humans go beyond their evolution, like beyond, because that's what they do. Like they train their bodies to control like their pregnancies, their gender, their whatever it is, like how they fight poisons, how they fight, how they exist, how they control others, how they read body language, temperature, and all of that. So like they're trying to go beyond the machine, like full human extent. But essentially, their goal is control through the supreme being. Same as the machine had the control over us. So it's like all of them are here. So we're either ruled by like machines or religion. Pick.
Yeah. And one thing really quick, just like what you're saying, like that context is really important. And part of why I think it's like a missed opportunity to not sort of focus a little bit more on like the War of the Machines and like actually kind of clarifying like what really happened here and like what was like the fallout and what was like the impact of it is in a lot of the narratives that we see when we do see sort of like machines having sort of intelligence and thought and like independent thought or whatever, the way that it is that narrative is usually done, like the humans are in the wrong and the machines are being these like, you know, abused beings or, you know, whatever. And it's just sort of like, what does it mean to be human? You know, like I think about something like Westworld. I even, I also even Terminator honestly is like some version of that, right? And like I actually think that this is like actually really it's not completely dissimilar, but it is different than those narratives because the like to your point, the ultimate purpose of that happening was like machines controlling humans, like and like controlling like human thought, controlling like human sort of like purpose and all of that. But that's kind of a little bit of a different narrative than we like normally see. So I think it would have been important for people to understand that, because I think it will be easy for people to watch the show and still kind of feel bad for like what really happened in this war. Like maybe like these like machines were trying to get their sort of like independence, and I think that like seeing a little bit more of that context actually feels like it would have helped flesh out that narrative that you're talking about, that some folks who don't know that will have missed.
In tackling again that us as people, like that we are easily seduced by the machine, the politics, the religion, the prophecy, like it would have juxtaposed it really nicely. And I think it was set a lot of groundwork maybe as well for maybe Dune Messiah when that comes around, because that sort of like, don't want to spoil Messiah obviously, but like it plays with some of these ideas that we just talked about. So it would have been nice to kind of like do more exposition on the War of the Machine, just because House Harkonnen came from the Butler. Like they were done after the war, like the Butlerian Jihad. So that would have been, I think, very, not even poetic, I don't know what's the word, like appropriate for the time that we live in. Because I have a feeling I was a little afraid. I don't like to know how the sausage is made. I want to. So when you like start unraveling, and I'm going to use Breyer. You guys probably follow them. They're amazing. The crocodile under the bed. When you describe what the Force is, when you describe what, the moment you unravel that, you can't put that back in a tube. So I'm always afraid, like, even like Frank Herbert through the Dune books, he's careful not to reveal too much. You have to leave something to the legend, to the tale, to the stories, to all of that, because you don't want to expose the crocodile under the bed. So I'm like, how deep are they going to dwell into the Bene Gesserit? Like, is this going to be they were like all wrong, then now like they want to, you know what I mean? Like give them an empathetic storyline. Like if they're just a religious order that wants to control humanity, I'm happy with that explanation. Do you know what I mean? So like it becomes like now they have all these motivations, which they do obviously, especially Valia and Tula, like, and what happened with Supreme Mother Raquel, right? Let me see. Like there's so many names. So which she had prescience right at the moment of her death, which I thought was a very cool sequence. And one of the things and again, I don't think the show is going to do this, but like there's other drugs in Dune Universe that induce like awakening of memories, not just spice. Like on Rosak, there's the very rich, it's a jungle planet with a lot of fauna and flora where the sisterhood, before they become Bene Gesserit, they kind of mix all these different poisons and they experiment with them. Usually it kills them. It's not something that you survive. Men definitely don't survive any of this, but sometimes it works and you're awakened into a Reverend Mother like Raquel and all that. So that's why like that vision was like the coolest. I rewound that scene like 15 times. It looked really cool, and seeing the sandworm like swallowing the whole castle, whatever it was.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
She foresaw Bene Gesserit's own destruction, which I thought they would be like I gotta be careful. I don't want to get into like anything past Dune 2. So like,
yeah.
But yeah, Valak 9 looks really cool. It's supposed to be kind of like unhospitable and gloomy and weird, dark. Like, so it looks really cool. Seleucus Secundus looked cool. We only saw brief shots of Arrakis. It looks pretty similar to the movie. So, but yeah. I'm off my soapbox on that.
No, love it. Love it.
No. Definitely. No, I think I agree with you. I literally was thinking the same thing as that. Like I think the 6 episode thing always is gonna, especially with this universe, is so big, it's so much story. It's for 6 episodes, it's too, yeah. I mean, even though there are at least it's like an hour episodes,
Which,
thankfully.
thank God, yeah. Oh my God.
At
Yeah,
least we have that. Don't get me
that's the
started.
thing. But I think But I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
because of the type of universe that it is, it should have been a little bit bigger. Unless they're just gonna contain it to, I don't know how they would contain it to just one specific story when we already have been to all these different planets already, you know, and stuff. So it's just gonna be the story of the Bene Gesserit with Desmond, and that's gonna be like the
That
main
seems the
I think
route.
that's what it is,
Yeah.
right? So it's probably just gonna concentrate. If it's that, then I guess I can understand why the only 6 episodes. It's just gonna be about that little scuffle there with, you know, other little things happening around them, but that's might be like the main plot, right?
And also, like, it kind of would have been cool that they did the disorder within the order, because you have the Butlerian loyalists within the order, like Mother Dorothea, like before Valia, I'm sorry, uses the voice on her to like get rid of her. So like within the order itself, there's dissent. So it would be nice to explore that. We just know that they are loyalists to the old Butlerian, like to the technology, and then Valia is in like there all these ideas are there. I'm afraid that the emotional impact is not going to land for the audience because you don't get a chance to attach yourself to anything emotionally. You're just given like, here are Dune terms, like here's terminology, lore. Somebody called it lore silo episode, which technically it is. I mean, look at it. You get Arrakis, you get Seleucus Secundus, you get Valak 9, a couple other planets. I think Giddy Prime at one point was shown for a second. Like, you get all of these different things that you've seen in Dune 1, Part 1 and 2. So, like, the War of the Machine, Descent among the Sisterhood, stay a little bit longer with the younger generation of these sisters. And again, all these things I think kind of fall because of the 6 episode structure. And I think the show is really focusing, like Kari said, like the conflict between Desmond Hart, which brand new character who has interesting powers that I have not seen in Dune Universe. Like, I'm not too well versed on the whole universe, but I don't remember any character.
Yeah, that was wild.
That
I can't wait till we talk about that, because I was like, what?
That I mean, Travis Fimmel is perfect for this role, playing an unhinged little.
Oh yeah, that's his thing exactly. We're gonna get back to it. Like, that's his perfect role.
That seems like the main conflict of the series is sisterhood against Desmond so far. So I don't know.
Yeah, and we also get introduced to like the families, right? The emperor plays all these other, families, how their influence, what type of influence they have. Because you would think that, what's his name?
The Emperor,
The emperor,
Javico Corino.
Javico Corino, right? As emperor, from what we're used to in Dune, he has like the last word. Whatever he says goes, period. Whatever he wants to do goes, right? That's from the Dune movies. That's how we.
Yeah, he's like
see it.
Shaddam IV on the Golden Lion throne, essentially. His daughter Inez is his successor. Yeah.
Yeah, but like over here, we see that it's not just however he wants it and whatever he decides. Like
Richese.
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 Yes.
Like, why is he dictating, to the emperor? Like, well, if you want this to work out, then you need to give us a room here in the palace. If not, then I don't know how this is gonna work out. Excuse me? You know what? You could go F yourself. I'm the emperor, and I'll just take over your ships. How about that? I'd like, again, my thought of the emperor was how we saw him in the Dune movies. Like, he's the one in charge of everything. He doesn't like, dude, you don't listen to me, then I'm gonna kill you. That's it. I'm gonna get rid of you. But over here we see like that conflict, and he doesn't have that power that an emperor should have, as being an emperor or whatever. And he's very undecided about things. There's a lot of things that he's so unsure of.
And I think his wife brings that up, because now you brought in the sisterhood into the midst, who are whispering in your ear, whatever it may be. Like, you used to rely on my counsel and what I had to say, and things were better but for lack of a better word, and now you have the sisterhood that you rely on, which again plays into like their manipulation tactics and how they insert themselves and exist in the shadow to kind of pull the strings of these powerhouses. But obviously the show is playing up on the idea of control. Who controls the spice has the power. So as long as you control Arrakis and its spice production, you're in power of that. If people think that you're losing your operation, essentially, whether to Fremen attacks, whether to other houses attacking you, that leaves you vulnerable. So like him being like making essentially a negotiating marriage between him and the little boy, it's an idea that Bene Gesserit sort of put into their head. Which, and again, there's so much in this episode. Like I am trying to think of everything that happened. I swear to God. So if I miss something somewhere, please correct me.
Another thing was I'm saying that about the Emperor as well, and because when that little boy came out with his little toy, that it was an AI toy, that should have been immediate punishment. Like that's it. That's huge. That's a very big thing, and he just lets it go for the sake of, well, I need this ship. Yeah, yeah. But it's not really because of peace. It's just he wants to make sure that he keeps control of Arrakis, and the only way he could do that is getting married so he could get those ships. So that's like his whole thing, right? But that hasn't been. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no. I was just gonna say, like, I completely agree, and it's fascinating to see how sort of short-sighted he is, or maybe short-sighted isn't the right word. It's like he's not even considering that the Bene Gesserit have like their own like goals, right? You know what I mean? Like that's not even like this group of women. Like he's not even considering that like when he is getting whispers from them, that when he's getting advice, that there is like the possibility that it is being impacted by like whatever their own like, goals are. Like he is so focused on keeping all of these factions together that he's not even considering like what's happening like over here at all. And it's really fascinating to watch like all of these voices now whispering in his ear. And I think it's going to be really cool to see like what ends up sort of like winning out. Like who does he actually end up like listening to at the end of this? But yeah, like it definitely feels more fractured than the world that we are seeing when we get to like the later Dune movies, which is wild because like.
But that now that you said that, that's actually a perfect segue between the films and the Dune prophecy, because you have to think about the 10,000 year difference. That is a millennia worth of like time that passes, and who is still pulling the strings? It's the Bene Gesserit. So you have to think of that for 10,000 years, they held that level of control of string pulling from the shadow, winning in the darkness. Like the show opens up, the fight, the war is celebrated in the light, but it's won in the darkness. So now, like you have that context. If Javico Corino doesn't maybe consider the influence of Bene Gesserit and the sisters within his midst, like as some sort of another force that could be working against him, like tells you about the sisters. And I am a slightly afraid that, again, sausage being made, I don't like seeing it, that they kind of unravel the mystery of the sisterhood and how they were able to keep that grip. Because you have to believe that that grip was tight for 10,000 years. And for them to operate that subtly and never get caught, because even the trailer, at least the few trailers that I saw, the older Valia, she uses the voice on Desmond. Because you don't want to reveal these things. You don't want to reveal, like, obviously these houses know that they can tell if somebody's lying, being that they're reading body language, body temperature, like movements of your facial features, how they move. Like they can catch these little clues that most people don't. They're trained for that. But they have other things like seeing into the future, having prescience. You saw that with Raquel. And you see that with the voice. Like the voice particularly is an extremely powerful tool. And there's again conflict with Jessica and Tufir Hawat, like in the future when he discovers that she can use the voice and all that. But that's like a secret very well hidden within the sisterhood. So I'm hoping that they don't like unravel the sisterhood too much in the show with introduction of Desmond, because he's obviously pushing Jabiko in a direction that it's gonna maybe turn the Emperor against the sisters. I don't know. What do you guys think?
No. I think I agree. It's going to be very interesting to see how Desmond is going to play, the role that he's going to play, in how the Emperor is going to react later on to the Sisterhood, and how obviously we know that they end up winning. The Sisterhood ends up winning for 10,000 years. So how it comes back to the Sisterhood being trusted at some point, because we see that the Emperor might have a little bit of like, skepticism after Desmond keeps on kind of like, coming to him and stuff, right?
Especially now that he killed the boy. Yeah, that's I'll believe in God. What do you say? Yeah. If you make that happen, I'll believe in God, or I'll believe in something. I think that's what he said, like when Desmond was implying like your problem can be resolved. Like, you can't just kill a boy from a noble house and think there's not going to be consequences. So that's going to be a very, I think those are the kinds of things that make this episode very interesting. A lot of like high stakes stuff.
The political
happens.
stuff. And the political
Yeah, high
stuff,
stakes stuff.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, and I kind of to like you don't want to see like how the sausage is made, like perspective is like, I also just hope that the show is able to do this in a way where it's not just that we get to a point, whatever the end point of this is, that it is believable that these women have held this power, but that what happens in this show doesn't feel like so unbelievable that they were able to like get away with all these things out in the open. That like I'm for instance, I feel like the character of Desmond, and I'm just gonna say it now.
Go for it, please.
This Mia is not gonna survive. Like he's not gonna survive whatever happens here. Like I feel like
what the hell is
in a
he
way,
though?
I have no idea. I don't even have like a guess, because like there's like, again, I don't know of a character or a being that has like disability, and I'm all for, I'm not somebody who's like stuck on the lore has to be perfect or it has to match like the book or whatever. Like I'm not stuck on that, but it has to make sense within the like universe that you created. And like the fact that like we have not seen anyone else like this person, they're gonna have to really explain that. Like I feel like I don't want to see how like the sausage is made, but I like too deeply.
You have to.
No, we have to, because it's never seen before.
The religion, the prophecy, the indoctrination, those are all part of the grand mystery of it all. That's not supposed to be unraveled for the reader, for the viewer. You're supposed to like be seduced by all of these different things. But the author is very careful of balancing the fantastical elements with the sci-fi. So even like Shai Hulud, my beloved little sandworm right here, obviously I consider them like dragons of Dune. This thing cannot exist in any sci-fi aspect, but he makes it that they are created by this very detailed, elaborate biological process. And he describes it in great detail how the big Shai Hulud comes to be. So like, I am a little scared with Desmond setting the boy on fire, like self-combustion or self-emulation. And then, was it at the same time, the sister, what's her name? Sorry, so many names.
Sister Kasha.
Kasha.
She self-emulates also at the same time.
What is the connection?
Or did I mistake that? That's a connection.
No,
right?
they did at the same time.
It either happened at the same time or like in close succession with each other.
They were going back and forth between the boy and Kasha.
Okay, that's what I thought. Like, I'm trying to recall the episode. Because, like, you made the boy internally set himself on fire or increase his body temperature. Like, Bene Gesserit can do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, they can read your maybe your body temperature based on how you're sweating, how you're sitting, how your brow is, like if your mouth is crooked, if your eyes are like dilating, like things like that. But they can't make you like explode. Do you see where I'm getting at? Like, there's no magical wand they're gonna wave around. Oh, you kill yourself. She'll use the voice, kill yourself, but not make your body temperature literally rise, that you cook from within and then outside. It's very strange.
And if they're happening at the same, I mean, I just have like a lot of questions of like, they opened up a door here where like, I'm like, it's okay. Like, if whatever the answer is to like why he has this ability, like I'm hopeful we'll get the answers to that. But I have curiosity around like how he was able to target these two particular people who were not in the same room. They're like not close together. Like, you know
Different
what I mean? Like
Completely
different planets. Like they're not point. Like, how was he able to do that? Right. And like, I understand the why those two people, like, I get why they were targeted, but I don't actually understand how he had the ability to do that. Yeah. I just feel like there's just like it's one of those things, like once you open up that box, it's like, oh, wow. Like now there's just like, yeah.
His powers have got to be explained, because within the context of universe, it's just right now to me, I've combed through the lore. I can't find anybody that can do that to another human being. I was thinking maybe initially, like when he got introduced, he could be a Cymek, which were a robot essentially from the Butlerian era, but does not seem that way. And Kari brought up a good point. Like when Javiko is looking over the mine harvester getting swallowed by the Shai Hulud, like Desmond was in the desert. I initially thought it was just a random Fremen person standing, but it is Desmond, right?
Yeah, that's him.
That was my understanding.
Because he said he survived whatever happened on Arrakis. So that was him. I really, maybe I need to watch a little bit better. I thought it was just, he was watching a Fremen soldier get swallowed by Shai Hulud.
No, that's him.
Desmond.
He's like,
I thought
but you see him. He's like, here, I'm ready. And
then
you
he's
see
waiting
him,
to be swallowed.
Yeah, swallowed. And then you see him come up from the sand. Like that's how he's around, like I said before.
So
like
that, you got to explain that too. You get swallowed by the worm and you have self-combusting powers.
Like, how did that happen? Yeah. What did he come back as? Because maybe he was something normal, and was it the worm that did that to him? Was like that gave him some type of power? Like what? And why are you beefing with the Bene Gesserit? Like what's your beef with? Like how did you come up with that beef? Why?
I think I know what beef might be, but one thing to clear up: even getting swallowed by the worm and being exposed to an insane concentration of the melange of the spice, it's not going to do that to you. It's maybe it might give you an
it shouldn't,
correct. Again, and if that was the case, why aren't his eyes blue? The irises too, because that's like a major feature of anybody that consumes spice. Even Paul and Jessica, after only a short while in the desert, they had blue eyes because of they were ingesting so much melange. So he did not have the blue around his eyes, unless he's changing. It could be like one of those face dancers. I think that's what it's called. But I'm very thrown off. It could be a new introduction, like to a new lore piece, something to kind of make the story more interesting. And you perfectly said in that, like, I'm not against any of that. Like, if it's going to be cool and serve the story, it's something kind of like to add something new to the lore, I'm all for it, as long as you explain it. You don't get to like have him walk in, survive the worm, turn against the sisters, and self-combust two people from large distances, and not tell me how. But I have a feeling why he might be against the sisters. If he was on the Arrakis, and if he had a connection to the Fremen in some point, because we see a Fremen girl at the bar, so they are present in the story. If he was swallowed by the worm, I wonder if he's aware, but no, it's too early. The Missionara Protectiva, this sort of religious propaganda that Bene Gesserit
Yeah, it
spreads to
hasn't
the
started yet.
Fremen.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it hasn't
That's
yeah,
gonna
started
yeah,
start.
yet.
yeah,
It hasn't
Yeah.
started. It's gonna start
yeah,
cooking like pretty soon, and it's gonna last for a while until she can. They literally turn the entire people into believers of this Kwisatz of the Lisan al Gaib.
Do you think maybe one of the things that he was able to also get was sentience, like a glimpse into the future? Maybe? And he sees that this is what's gonna happen. He's like, nah, 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 nah. We can't let this shit happen because some crazy dude is gonna come and do this.
That can't work because he would have to, in order to awaken your prescience, you have to drink the poison, whether it be the water of life, which Jessica drinks in Dune 1, right? And Paul drinks it. That's what literally awakens the final, it's a final step to his Lisan al Gaib, like persona. So if Desmond has prescience, means that he survived. He's another male that survived the poison. So is he Kwisatz Haderach in this universe? I don't know. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm breaking my head over him, over the character. Like, I'm very intrigued.
it has to be something where it's going in a totally different direction. Like, I think it would be really like, yeah, like there are too many things that he's not exhibiting right now that would be present if like if any of that was like a factor. So like to me, this feels like something different. And like again, I'm very open to that, but I really hope the show like genuinely like breaks down like how it's possible and why we have not seen this at any other like point in the story so far. And I almost wonder if they're trying to like open the door for this like sort of new piece of lore to be included in like future.
In Messiah,
like,
maybe you think, or maybe in future
yeah,
stories, and if they're doing
yeah,
like the Mentats and the Souks,
yeah. Maybe. Like I want to understand like it's not just how it makes sense in the context of like this prequel. I want to understand how this makes sense in like the larger like scale of like the story. Like it can't just be this thing that's like in a bottle and like on its own. But hey, we'll see. But here.
I'm
Yeah,
open to
as long
it.
as they explain it and stuff. And then I think since we don't get to see it anymore, I think the Bene Gesserit are able to kind of figure out how to stop him, obviously, and not let that happen again with anyone else. Because, right? They would have to, because they're not gonna let that somebody else come and try to ruin the plan thousands of years later again and stuff. But my thing is, if this is something that is crazy mysterious like that, I'm thinking that the Bene Gesserit are also gonna want to try to find out how he acquired these powers. So because they would want to use those same powers, right?
Because you're right, you might be onto something here. Especially, let's say that there's, unless he had prescience without ingesting the water of life or whatever poison, he survives it, and they kind of, that doesn't work. I'm trying to think of like, what could he possibly do? What had happened to him for them to find out and use as a way to breed Kwisatz Haderach? I, my problem, and again, I don't want to get preemptively like mad or outraged or like anything like that. Like, I don't want Dune, even within the AU context, like expanded universe, which those books are rough. They are rough. My God, magic is not a thing. It is and it's not. Like I said, Herbert kind of balances fantastical elements with sci-fi, but he takes sci-fi to explain the fantastical elements. Do you know what I mean? Like such as like sisters being able to control gender of their baby. That's not something that's like that does not exist, but he uses biological terms to describe these things. Do you know what I mean? Like creation of the worm has an entire biological process, how they're able to contour their bodies and like watch for signs on people and read body language to know if somebody's lying or telling the truth. So like whatever Desmond has power of, if it's magical, I'm not going to be happy. I'm just going to say that right now. I need like a crazy. I don't give a shit how insane.
Scientific explanation.
Yeah, a scientific
Biological
explanation.
scientific explanation. I don't care if it's like pseudoscience, like weird stuff that does not exist, but like literally just use biological terms like you do with Shai Hulud to describe the worm.
It could be as simple as we've always had these stories of when you develop your brain, a lot, then you are able to use it in ways of manipulating energy around you and all that shit. Do that. It's a mind thing,
He's a half robot. Okay, I'll buy that. I will buy that. He's half Cymac. He got swallowed by the worm, and his robot portion got exposed to a bunch of spice. That's why he didn't die.
I kind of love this.
Yes. I am literally just
that is my favorite. This is one of my favorite crackpot theories you come up with.
Like his robot brain was able to inhale all this.
I am gonna die at the actual reason.
Listen, we're gonna bookmark this. All right.
Weird.
Watch him be like.
He's been able to manipulate atoms in the atmosphere or whatever in the atmosphere.
Oh, wait a minute.
And that's why he's able to control the DNA or the whatever inside a human body.
Watch him be fucking AI, who's also like Kwisatz Haderach at the same time because of too much spice when he got swallowed by the worm. And the sisterhood is like trying to like fuck the machine. We're not about the machine. We want a superhuman being that's flesh and blood. Holy shit, Kwisatz Haderach is a robot. Oh, goddamn. We're cooked.
Like, no, never mind. Shit.
To the listeners, I am literally talking nonsense. None of this means anything. Oh, no, it's just words out of my mouth.
Oh my God, that's such a good crackpot theory.
But he is the most interesting part so far to me because it's so mysterious and unknown. And like, who the fuck are you? What are you? Not even who are you? What are you?
Yeah, what are you?
What are you?
So speaking of interesting characters, like what were some of the characters that stood out to you this episode?
Yeah, I think I'm interested in the relationship between Valia and it's Tula. Is that her sister's name? Yeah. So like I am interested in the dynamic between those two and what's ultimately going to happen with that relationship. Something about it like just reads like very like tragic to me. And like I'm interested in sort of like the kind of like back and forth sort of like power dynamic between them. I think it was Tula that was instructing all of the like younger sisters like at one point and training them, and like Valia at one point like kind of comes in and just sort of like ends the training. But it's like it was very much like her throughout this episode was just like asserting her dominance over her sister in almost every interaction that they had together. So I'm really curious to see how they're going to develop that, and if there is going to be a point where Tula is like, enough, if there's going to be a fracture in that relationship, because it feels like that's the direction that the show might be going in some way. So yeah, I have a lot of interest in that. I was, curious where they were going to go with the character of Kasha. Well,
Dracarys.
Well, it went up in flames. That's what it went. That's where it went. It went up in flames. That's where it went.
By a magical Viking robot that got eaten by a worm.
Wow. Yep.
I think of all the sisters, Kasha was probably to me the most interesting of the all because she saw something too. I don't know if she had a prescience or something that happened with her when she saw like she had a vision, right? Yeah. Because I am hoping that they do a little bit more with the rest of the sisterhood. They feel a little tropey to me now. Like there's one that's tough and like feisty, and one that it's like suspicious of everything. One that's kind of tough, the shy one. They're like, Yeah, they're literally tropes right now. Very tropey. So like Kasha, like being so close to the Emperor, and then like what happens to her, having a vision, like definitely one of the more interesting sisters. I'm hoping that the younger ones get a little bit more room to shine, to really show us like how the sisterhood operates. And with Tula, I thought initially that it was, could she possibly have some Butlerian sympathies? Like that's because that was the original rift within the sisterhood. But then like as they talk, like I her questioning Valya's motivations, is this like your own personal agenda or is this for the good of the sisterhood? Like that, to me, that's a very interesting dynamic right there. Like, what are we doing this for? Like we are using a little computer to gather all this genetic data. Like we are doing something that you killed Dorothea for having Butlerian sympathies. So like, and yet you are the one using a genetic computer to breed, to collect breeding data for all these families. So two of them, their dynamic, like you said, I think it's very, very interesting. Another character stood out to me, and that's because of Game of Thrones, is obviously Queen Natalia. She played Maggie the Frog, which always very excited to see that. So, and I think probably one of my favorite moments, and this is again, I love when there are intimate moments. When she has an intimate moment with her husband, she puts her hand on his hand to try to like build that connection back with him, but he's too far gone. I think he's too far into the politics of of Arrakis and the spice, and being like having the ear of the Bene Gesserit too much, and then they have that intimate moment where he kind of pushes away. And then later on, the wedding where she looks at him when he like forgives the boy for having an AI toy. So I thought that relationship was kind of interesting. I don't really care for the princess or for her brother Constantine. Like those characters did nothing for me. Like again, very tropey. She's a rebellious princess who wants to like do her own thing, and then a bastard son who's trying to like, I have no idea what he's about, what's his purpose in all of this. But like the relationship with the swordmaster, the Atreides, Kieran Atreides, like it would have been really cute to do something with that, but they obviously like, and they're like having sex immediately within the same episode. Like there's no like build up to anything. Like they're not no tension, none of that. Like slow down. Like I know it's 6 episodes, they want to move fast, but that's kind of what takes me out of connecting to these characters. So I had a hard time connecting to the princess, which obviously she's a huge player. She's the future heir to the Golden Lion throne. But I'm like, she's pretty. Her dress is pretty. The headgear, amazing. Like everything looks really good. Like the show, like in scale, looks expensive. I mean, it's obviously not Dune level like budget. It's never going to be. It's a TV series. And a lot of people, I see some reviews, people being unfair. Well, it's not Dune. There's no Denis Villeneuve. There's no the cinematographer. There's no Hans Zimmer. I'm like, you're comparing like fucking. I'm so sorry, Monica. Please forgive me on that. You're comparing like a $200 million budget film like to a TV show, like apples and oranges. Let's chill on the comparisons. Of course, Hans Zimmer is not going to be scoring a TV show. He does movies, or maybe he does. I don't know. But like to me, that's an unfair comparison. Other than that, to me, like everything looks really good. Like we haven't seen much about Arrakis yet. Hopefully we'll see more because we love the Dune planet. Obviously, I want to see more of the worms, but everything looks pretty good to me. Like the costumes look great, the sisters look great, their headgear, the black veils, they look amazing, look gorgeous. So that's kind of what stood out to me. The queen and
Empress Natalia, she was also Queen Calante in The Witcher.
That's right.
Jodie
Thank
May.
you. That's right. Oh,
I would, yeah,
Game of Thrones,
yeah.
Witcher, and Dune. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, she's like a Thanos. So like
3 for 3. What's
let's
that?
get her into
yeah.
Star Wars and Marvel. She'll be like Thanos in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got them all.
Get them all.
I am curious what they're going to do with Theodosia. Obviously she's like not really like present in the story right now. They've really only like talked about her and like shown like kind of like pieces of her. I will just say I'm always very sensitive to how like Black women in particular are represented in fantasy and like science fiction and things like that. So like I am like at least relieved she hasn't been killed off yet. You know what I mean? Hey, fingers crossed she makes it at least halfway through the season. But I am actually really curious, especially because of framing her as like I think they said that she was like Valia's like favorite for whatever reason. So like I am sort of curious to sort of see a little bit more of her and like seeing what that relationship actually looks like. So not a character that they're doing anything with right now, but a character I am actually going to be paying a lot of attention to when she like, is more present.
I hope to God they do some. If this is a show about Bene Gesserit, I want a show about Bene Gesserit. Give me anything. Give me more than a trope. Like I don't want to see feisty. I don't want to be strong. I don't want to see strong. I don't want to see doubtful. Like they're not dwarves. Like from Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. Like give them personalities. Give them motivations. Like even if you like 2 or 3 conversations here or there, for me it changes everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, correct. The descent, if there is a descent in Bene Gesserit, show us a descent, whether it stems from, correct, because Butlerian Jihad is only 100 years prior. That's not too far away from the memory. If there's some descent left, show it to me. If there's question on Valia's motivations and how she's leading the Bene Gesserit, show us. Which sisters are showing descent? What do they don't like? Is Valia obsessed with just restoring Harkonnen name? Which introduction to, what's the Harkonnen Lord's name? What the hell is his name? Harrow Harkonnen. When he's talking to the Emperor Javico and he's talking about whale fur, because that's what the Harkonnens do. That's like their source of wealth is trading in whale fur. He just looks so like goofy. I don't know if that's the right word. Like in hindsight, Harkonnens and just how powerful they are and like evil in a sense of way. They're the big villain of the saga. So to have him be like, we need to be trading in whale fur and like trying to shoot his shit with the emperor while he's looking at the other lord and like figuring out what the hell is going on. So Harkonnens, Theodosia's, what's going to happen with her, especially like how is she going to support Valia's agenda? I'm very curious with that, how that's going to.
I think, definitely we probably are going to see some type of descent because I like that we got that foreshadow when they were younger. How there was that those different factions of got this little group, the youngins were the ones that were like, no, we got to do this. This is how it's supposed to be. And they were the ones that took action. Well, Valia did, but the other ones followed. They agreed. They agreed with her, and then it was the younger ones. So I wonder if this young group is gonna kind of do the same thing, like kind of rebel against the older, motherhood and the sisters, the reverends and stuff.
Especially if Desmond sows even more seeds within the sisterhood, within the order.
I want to see that.
We're getting my AI people back. Who's He's gonna come in.
I am going to die if that is like anywhere near what like
a percentage. I'm gonna reference this video and how unhinged on the unhinged word salad.
We will clip it and we'll be like, listen.
Dang.
Called it. JJ called it.
JJ called it. Episode 1.
Oh, percentage of it. I'm gonna be like riding out into the sunset.
Yes, right. Go, baby. I was going to ask you real quick for those of us that, don't know the Lord like you do. You keep on mentioning how some of them, the sisterhoods back, maybe they were kind of loyal to the Butlerians. Like, what exactly do you mean by that? Because, again, they didn't really explain what why is it even called Butlerian Wars? What is a Butlerian?
It's essentially a family. How would I describe this it's a humanity rising up against a machine, and this is the war that goes on for hundreds and hundreds of years. There's all these scourges and diseases, like machines really trying to eradicate humanity. And that's one of the best parts of Butlerian Jihad is human spirit, a human flight, essentially beating the machine that tried to enslave them. Because again, that concept of like enslaving your mind either by the computer or by religion, like those are the two great ideas that constantly are up against each other within the Dune universe. So there are people that are still like pro computers, pro calculator. Like even calculator is forbidden in the Dune universe. So you're still gonna have some dissenting people that are like, machines, we need them. We need computers. We need, I don't know, calculators. We need cameras. We need all of these different things. So while like the Orange Catholic Bible strictly forbids it, and that's the big religious order that comes out of the Butlerian Jihad to forbid. You cannot make a machine, and that's the biggest creed of the Orange Catholic Bible. You cannot make a machine with the mind of a man. Like this machine cannot think. So even like I said, calculator that does the 2 and 2 it does it for you. It's not allowed. Correct. So there are some people that are still kind of loyal to that old system. Like maybe we need some machines. Even like a little toy caused all that mess at the engagement parties. So like some of these sisters are still within that mind frame. And again, think of that. It's only been 100 some years. I think that's the timeline that they posted on the little scroll. So none of these things are like too far from the memory. 100 years in Dune Universe is nothing when you think of the like long scale existence of this universe. So there's going to be loyalists and like sympathizers to the Butlerians and the machine itself. So and that's what that is. That's what their dissent comes from. So, and that's why I think like Valia was like, when she was essentially, at least in the book, if I remember correctly, she was tasked to share duties of the Reverend Mother after Raquel dies. And then like, this is not how this is going to go. We can't have like two people with two separate mindsets leading this group. We need to be united under one rule, one like goal, which is obviously supreme being. And we can't have any sort of like, you can't be like independent thinker. It has to be sisterhood only. So even if you, which is kind of hilarious when you think about it, like machine taking over your mind, and then you don't allow any sort of dissent in within your own order. You can't freely be a free thinker. You have to be constrained to the sisterhood, like almost like sisterhood itself is a machine itself, because it's seeking to control not just the order, but the entire world. And they do it very carefully. So that's kind of
I wonder if maybe the dissent will come, because right now, from my understanding, they still haven't come up with the concept of creating that being yet. That hasn't come into conversation yet. I think
Not
right
yet,
now,
at least.
Vaya's whole thing right now has been so far is we need to protect our sisterhood, because what Reverend Raquel is her name, the one that died?
Yeah,
The first
Raquel,
Supreme Mother. She saw the destruction. She saw the destruction of the sisterhood. That could be something.
Tiran Arafel, the reckoning. Yeah.
Arafel, the reckoning. So that's like their main concern is making sure, and the only way that they can maintain, they are able to protect the sisterhood is by maintaining control and making sure that they put in position people that they can control so they can keep the peace. So that's, I think right now, that's the thing. Maybe Desmond is the catalyst that changes that whole thing to, oh no, we got to create this one being now.
Oh shit, you
Right?
might be cooking.
Right? Because right now, again, there's no talk. The only reason why they're doing the DNA manipulation thing is so that they could create people that they can control themselves.
What? No. But no, go back. But what does Valia say, even in the trailer and in the show? Like, we want a sister on the throne. Like that's the goal now. Yeah. Ooh.
The goal now is to get people in power that they can control. Because that way they'll control, the rules that are gonna come about, how the peace that needs to be maintained so the sisterhood stays safe. But then what changes that to now we gotta create a being that's gonna be the ultimate control, that's gonna be the one that ultimately controls everything.
And the irony of that is, to me, is still hilarious. You want to create a supreme being, this Jesus, this freaking Lord, whatever, pick a god, doesn't matter. And yet, like, the one that controls humanity is us. They consider us animals, but yet you're the one that wants to control the Jesus or the supreme being or whatever you're creating. So it's like, there is no limit. And I think that's sort of like the grand theme of Dune. There is no limit to power, and how much power can you take? Because even like Jessica giving birth to Paul, to what they wanted, the end goal, the male Bene Gesserit, it's still like not controlled by them. So you're not creating ultimate control. You're creating control that you can control. It's kind of like, yeah,
Yeah. I really love that theory, Kari.
yeah, I do
And like
too.
I
I do
think
too.
yeah, that's a really, really, really good thought. And like, I am thinking about Mother, I think Raquel is. I think that's right. Mother Raquel, and one of the last things that she said was, "You will be the one to see the burning truth and know." And like I'm thinking about like this person who has like the ability to like burn people alive, and like they're like it feels like there's like
You
something
cooked,
there's
literally,
something there.
pun
Yeah,
intended.
like there yeah, like there's something there's something there. I feel like there's also like a reason why the show is even called Dune Prophecy. It's like the development of this like prophecy that impacts like the rest of like the Dune universe. And like I do think that this guy somehow plays like a larger role in that than we're seeing now. Mm. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of connective tissue
Oh, 100%.
like now that you're
I think this is one video, that one stream that we're going to be referencing at the end of the series.
yeah
Or as the
yeah
Desmond mystery unravels, to
Mystery
what this
unravels,
person
yes.
is. Yeah, what
Yeah.
are you? Like,
yeah.
because you're right. The prophecy that Akela gives to Valia is, what is it? I wrote it down. It's called Tiran Arafel, Reckoning, but that's the end of the order. Burning truth. Oh yeah, it's connecting. Everything you guys just said, it's connecting.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Me too.
Yeah.
For us to be right.
Yes.
That number one. Number two, like I think it gives me motivation to keep going with the show. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, because I don't know
Yeah.
how much is it going to connect. Like, obviously they're going to reference Paul at some point. Somebody's going to see Paul.
Of course,
They
yeah.
better. I that's the only way for me.
It would be weird if they
It
did
would be
it.
weird
I'm
if there's
guessing
no.
towards the end when they start concocting this whole thing, like, okay, and then maybe that's gonna cause a rift in the sisterhood. Also, like people that are okay with that, and then others that are not gonna be okay with that, and then how the Fremen come into play, like because the Fremen really went all out with that prophecy or whatever, right?
I'm curious about the girl at the bar where Inez and Constantine go
Michaela?
to. Michaela, thank you.
Yeah.
Being that it appears that she might be the sole Fremen out of. How did you end up away from Arrakis into Seleucus Secundus? Like how that happened? And I think there's a scene in the trailer. I don't know if she is on Arrakis or if she's like now whatever planet she's on right now. I'm just curious. Like I said, they're putting like a lot of like familiar concepts, like whether Fremen people, the worm, the Arrakis, like everything that we know from the film. I'm very curious about her character as well, and especially the way she looked at Inez when she was flirting with Kieran Atreides. There was a look, and a concerning look. And remember, her eyes were blue, like the irises. So she's under influence of spice. Is she having a little bit of prescience? A little bit. Just a little bit, like seeing into the future.
All right.
Like, what did she see?
I can see that.
What? And then again, why is Inez having like sex with Kieran? Like, is that gonna?
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like,
baby, the Bene Gesserit did not
yeah,
plan for it.
Yeah, I was like,
Because she's
fun
going to the
with it.
sisterhood. She was supposed to get married and then immediately go train.
Correct, and she's with Atreides. If she ends up pregnant and goes to the sisterhood to Valia, who hates Atreides, disruption in the genetic plan in the eugenics program.
No, we're gonna see. We also one thing I do, because I spoke with what's his face, Mr. Harkonnen, Edward Davis, who's Harrow, because I asked him like, what are we going to get glimpses of how the Harkonnen, how it started, like how they ended up being in the movie? He's like, yes, that we're gonna get some type of start of how they started.
How they built their power.
Yeah, how they built their power, how they
Harkonnens are
became
huge,
ruthless.
Yeah.
How they became ruthless, how, and then the whole change of their aspect and all that stuff. He's like, we're going to get
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit of hints and stuff on how that all started.
Take me back to Gedi Prime. Gedi Prime is just the coolest, most menacing looking planet. I love it.
Right. There's the Harkonnen story is probably just the they got tired of being the dummy bullied people, and the bullied becomes
it became the bullies.
yeah type of thing. They're like, what, we got to get ourselves strong, and they just took it way too far with trying to get strong again and stuff. So
But it's interesting, that whole story starts with Valia's descent, not even descent, her dissatisfaction and her feeling betrayed by the Atreides. She's so motivated to put her family back in power, and then you skip back 10,000 years, you have Vladimir Harkonnen killing Leto Atreides and trying to eradicate his family. Like, that's a millennia long, not millennia, how millennia is 1,000 years, whatever 10,000 years is. Like, that feud just never ever ended. And without going into Messiah spoilers, like, it's crazy.
And the crazy thing is that I don't know if this is something that Valia did on purpose, because wasn't the plan supposed to be that the princess was supposed to have a child with the Harkonnen? Jessica's daughter was supposed to get with Harkonnen's son.
Jessica was supposed to give birth to a girl.
To a daughter. And then Harkonnen, sexy Harkonnen was supposed to have a boy, I think.
Jessica's daughter with Leto was supposed to marry Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen.
There you go, yes. And that's
where
the Messiah was supposed to come.
Correct. So the Messiah baby is supposed to, and it should be a boy.
It's supposed to be a Harkonnen, and it's supposed to be a Harkonnen. So Valia, damn. I wonder.
But technically, Harkonnen is Kwisatz Haderach, because Paul is Harkonnen by his grandfather.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that reveal gets me every time.
That's crazy. Yeah. That is. I was like, what?
When he tells
Paul
Jessica,
was like, that's my grandfather.
You're the daughter of a Harkonnen. Like, holy shit! Like, that
was like telenovela shit.
It definitely was. Oh my god,
so good.
So Valia, so now we know that Valia technically won the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, she played the long game. She played
really
the long game
for real. Yeah, I saw the future. The future.
Yeah, at the end of the day, my family is gonna win. Like, don't. Eye on the prize the whole time.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I mean, in grand scheme of things, Chani and Vladimir Harkonnen's baby is the king of world.
Yeah, literally. Yes. Oh my god.
I love it.
Crazy. So it's gonna be interesting. Hopefully, we're gonna get a lot of if it does go that way, it's gonna be so interesting to see the start of the prophecy, the start of the sisterhood kind of like changing their trajectory, and why they changed their objective from just wanting to protect the sisterhood to just really is just all out control. And that was their whole objective.
And how to hold on to it for 10,000 years. So Ragnar, you are on notice. We're watching you. We are watching you. I mean, for other reasons, but we are watching you.
Very closely. Very closely. We need a bath scene. Oh my god, let me stop. Stop it. No. Stop. Anyways, yeah. Yes.
Her cheeks are red.
I know. I'm like so red right now. Monica, my bad.
Well, listen, that my little meme, huh?
I know.
Started with simping. Started with simping, ending with simping.
Ending with simping. That's how we start.
That is a classic us thing.
Yes, it is. Absolutely, it is.
Bitches be super Sauron. That's all you gotta know.
That's it. For black goo. Hello.
Black goo.
For black goo, Magoo.
Now, do you remember when we did a live with Sahela and somebody in the comment section laughed and came back like, I was gone for an hour. I come back and and all of you are still simping for Sato.
Oh my god, I saw that comment. I was dying.
I was
Yeah,
fucking
that's what
crying.
it said.
Correct.
Dying. That's gonna be
We
us
were.
with Desmond.
And we did.
Yes, it is.
And we did.
Absolutely, it is. When he starts like getting all crazy, his skin coming off and stuff, because his true Terminator self is coming out. Yes.
I was in.
I mean, like, yes. Oh. Because me and Sue were talking about how his eye looks very weird because it's a different color, right? So you could tell that it's like not his real color. What if it's a contact because he's hiding his red eye from being an eye? He has to wear it so it doesn't show his freaking robot and shit.
Or he's hiding his blue eyes.
No, because they look weird. When I was like, wait, but why is it? It's like so jarring because it's different. No, because at the end when we see him one final time in the thing, I looked at his eye and I'm like, okay, there it looks normal, but then in other times that eye looks so prominently like fake. I'm like, why is this different? Yeah. I think he has a scar. Sue was saying, so it might have been because of the. But if you have a scarred eye, normally it's all white. It turns white. It doesn't turn a different color. It turns white.
Correct.
Right when your eye gets messed up. So it's like, why is that eye so different? I'm telling you, man, he's hiding his robot eye. JJ, I'm going with yours. I'm going with your theory, JJ. That's it.
We gotta add that to our list of theories. Add that to the list of theories. Yeah.
Australian redneck Viking is a robot on Dune.
AI.
And then on his spare time, he makes beer.
He makes beer. He's a beer maker.
Yeah.
Yes. Give me some of that melange beer. I'll drink the shit out of it. But I don't want to know my future. I don't want to see weird shit, though. No, thank you.
I already know too much about what's happening now. I don't want to know the future too. Fuck
Let me just be, bro.
I'm teetering between KMS and not knowing the future.
Yeah.
I don't need any.
I'm like, no.
Hard pass.
No. Ignorant. I choose ignorant.
Oh my god. But yeah, so ending on that note, let's do our final thoughts. JJ, final thoughts for this right now.
I mean, solid start, a little too lore heavy, a little too info dumpy. I think for the start, they could have used a little bit more character building, in my opinion, but we're only 6 episodes, so I understand why this thought process of how to do the show. Overall, there's some really strong characters in here, like Desmond really intrigues me. I think Emily Watson is fantastic in every scene that she's in. So Bene Gesserit as a concept to me has always been the most interesting part of Dune. So obviously I'm seated for this. I'm excited to see what happens and how we get to Paul. What did they see to get to Paul? That's my end goal here, to figure that out. How does that come into play? So far I'm seated. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. It looks good. It's interesting. Characters look great. Costumes look great. So it's Dune. I'm here for Dune. I'm gonna be seated for Dune.
Yeah. I think I agree with a lot of that. I think that the world building, I think as a person who cares about this world already, it's working for me. I will say that I think that this is going to be hard for people who aren't already invested. I'm going to be honest. I think that that's the one thing that brings down the episode a little bit, just from the perspective of not really being accessible to a wider audience of people. But as somebody who does care about this world, I think it was really a really great, strong start. Again, I feel very invested in the characters that they focused on the most. For the most part, again, I agree, the princess. But but the majority of the main characters I really like. I'm really curious what direction they're going in with a lot of these folks. I think I would give this like, I think like a 6 to 7 out of 10. I think like somewhere in there is what I would give. I think what will help me engage with the show or like kind of knock up the score a little bit is seeing more of the relational stuff between these characters. Like I feel like I need to see more of that. And that just wasn't really present a lot in this episode. But again, to JJ's point, I understand why. They're very like limited in what they can do. Yeah, it was an introductory thing. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm in.
And for me, okay, so now I'm gonna kind of like brag a little bit. Like I said before, I was able to attend the red carpet premiere. I was able to interview some of the cast and the crew. And the first thing that I want to talk is I was able to talk to the showrunner. Her name is Alison Schapker. Yeah. So I was able to talk to her, and I did ask her, how was she able to bridge? How was the bridge between the book and her own storytelling? How was that going to be conveyed and come out to the fans? There, let it be old or new ones. And she said that she was very. She said that she wanted to make sure that even though it wasn't going to be a faithful adaptation of the book or everything in the universe. Yeah, no, because it's not. It's definitely not. That she made sure that the story was going to be cohesive and that she knows that she has confidence that, old and new fans were going to be, excited about the story that she had to tell. Because it is a story that they take parts from the book, but most of it is her own storytelling because there's like a 30 jump time difference from the book to what's being told in the show. The book mainly concentrates. It's about your younger Vanya and younger Tula and that story there, right? And in the show, we're just gonna see probably more flashbacks, but that's about it. But she said that, she said that she's such a huge fan, and she wanted to make sure that she had respect for the lore and for the story and for what Frank and I guess and his son also had, right. So I was like, all right, cool, that's nice. Also got to talk to the editors, the ones that actually cut the story and stuff, because I told them like, listen, in Dune, the way that they present these characters, like with the way they like zoom in into a person's face, or the way that they're, all that stuff, that's very important because that shows a lot of the character and what kind of person they are, or cutting from scene to scene is also important. She's like, we wanted to have that same feeling with the show, so it's important to see to that when we transition from scene to scene, it makes sense and it has an impact. You know, I was like, okay, cool. Like they wanted to keep that in. And I also was able to talk to cinematographer and, and ask him about the same thing, like with Dune, with the scale, with how beautiful it looks, the planets, the and everything. And I was like, was it difficult for you to translate that into the show? He's like, obviously it's not going to be the movie. The movie is such on a grand scale, but we were able to, bring some of that sentiment and that feeling into the show as well. And that we're going to get to see that. We're going to get to see even though it's not, it's not going to be to the height of the movie, you're still going to feel that this is a big universe, that these characters are big characters. These planets are out there, and there's so much in that universe existing, and he was able to like kind of capture that. So I'm excited for that. At least we know that they took their time to try to recreate the same thing that the feelings that the movie gave to the audience, to bring it into the show. So that was really cool. I was able to talk to them about that.
So, like, essentially, Dune Prophecy looks like Dune. That's literally all I can ask for from Dune Prophecy is feel like Dune. Like the places that we see, the planets, the aircrafts, the costumes, they need to be elaborate and crazy. Like go ham on, and the show delivered that for me in that first episode. Like I knew I was watching Dune. It felt like Dune, and that's huge. It's huge, huge. So kudos to him, to the cinematographer for sure.
Yeah, no. It was really good. He's like he was very excited for this project, and he took it as a personal, like challenge to be able to do the same thing that the movies did. So that was really cool. So yeah, I'm definitely excited. I'm seated. Also the same. Even I know that is a lot of introduction. First episodes most of the times are. It was a lot though, but I'm invested because now I need to know about these characters and where it's gonna go, and especially Desmond and how that relation that whole conflict's gonna go with the sisterhood. So I'm excited for sure.
Me too.
Hmm.
Me too. That
Yes, yes,
alone
yes,
has me
yes.
seated.
Yeah. Yep. So, guys, before I sign off, I want to thank you guys for being here again. I can't wait. We are good. This is going to be a weekly occurrence. We're going to be able to make this podcast. We're going to have, other amazing people joining us to talk about it as well. So I can't wait for that. Again, just really quick, JJ, where can they find you on the socials and stuff?
You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, and Blue Sky under Lady Dragon JJ. I talk all things pop culture, mostly A Song of Ice and Fire, but I do love Dune and Star Wars and pop culture in general. And, yeah, thank you again. This is very exciting. I was looking forward to doing another show with Temple of Geek. I appreciate the opportunity and to talk to my friends. It's amazing. I'm very looking forward to the show and talking to everybody. So very, very happy.
And what about you, Nat?
Yeah, you can again find me at all the things, Blue Sky, IG. I mean, I guess I'm on Twitter too.
We're
now.
migrating, but yeah, for now, we're
For
migrating.
now.
We're
Yeah,
going to the sky,
migrating.
baby. We're going to the
Yeah.
sky. We're skeeting. We're skeeting now.
We're skeeting. We're skeeting, baby. Man.
Kari brought up a good point. Hello, John. Millennials won that one, baby.
And ski.
We're taking social media back.
Yeah, we are.
When I cracked up. Oh my god.
Screamed. Oh my god, we won. You can find me on all the socials at NKNAPPER, where I talk about, again, pop culture, all the things. I will be talking about Dune, of course. I will be talking about Star Wars again. Was taking a little bit of a break, but I'm back. Andrew brought me back.
Andrew's bringing back the fight that we need right now. God damn it.
Bringing me back. Rings of Power. I'm still on it, not giving it up. But anyway, those are all my things and all the other and movies, TV in general. But yeah, you can find me on all those socials, chatting it up.
And then for me, you guys already know, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, for now Twitter, and I'm on Blue Sky as well under Star Wars Tia. So this is going to wrap up this episode of Temple of Geek Podcast. We want to thank everyone who tuned in today, and especially our amazing guests for being with us today. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to hit us up on Facebook or Twitter by using the handle Temple of Geek. Do you want to check out some of the other episodes or shows? Why don't you head over to templeofgeek.com, where you will find all sorts of content that pertain to the world of geek. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.